Broadcasting live to tape from beautiful Monmouth County, New Jersey. We're on a clear night. You can almost see RutgersKev struggling to pronounce a four-letter name. It's the RutgersKev Show.
Kevin O'Keefe gets the win at Charlotte.
Kevin O'Keefe is going to take his first win and only his third start in the series. Beautiful job for Kevin O'Keefe.
Gonna troll me forever.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Sean, take a look at his on his screen there. Very appropriate today. Oh boy.
I'm Matt Malone. I stream iRacing, but when I'm not racing, I'm listening to the RutgersKev Show with your host, RutgersKev.
How does he have 38 viewers?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 8 of the RutgersKev Show. Special episode with my guest, Jake Sparey. I'm going to let Jake introduce himself. Say hi, Jake.
Hi, Jake. I am #Do You Mind Jake Sparey, the observer of sim racing broadcaster for RaceSpot TV, the global sim racing channel, and V8's Online, with my own website, the Sim Racing Observer.
I think Jake Sparey is like the Paul Heyman of iRacing. You know, no one else can introduce him except for him. That's how.
Well, I tell you what, Paul Heyman is one of my idols.
Right.
I love a Paul Heyman promo. They are fantastic.
Right. I mean, you know, if I called you the observer of sim racing, it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, you can build up anything whichever way that you want. Most often I'm introduced in my certain way by myself, and nobody else seems to follow that. So it comes down to, you know, how I want people to see me, how I see myself, and part of it's just, you know, it's just a little bit of promotion. It's a little bit more character you can bring to a broadcast if you bring a few monikers in that people can remember.
Right, and that's what I think people forget about this. I mean, this podcast is about being a content creator in terms of iRacing, you know, and we are going to talk. Jake's not going to be around for that, but the second half of this episode, I'm going to talk about certain characters we have in iRacing and other drama that's going on in iRacing revolving some characters that are being played. It's not involving Jake, so I'm not going to bring it up right now. But I mean, generally the concept is we're all playing a character here. I mean, my name isn't RutgersKev. My name is Kevin O'Keefe, and I'm a attorney, and I don't go to court and say why me. And I think people forget that sometimes. So there was some drama this week, and that's why Jake's on the show. So let me just give the neutral party background, okay? I'm a Twitch streamer, and I'm also a big fan of the broadcast, as everyone knows. I watch all the World Championship Series. I watch as many other broadcasts as I could. I really love the Global Sim Racing channel. Sorry, Jake. Yeah, oh, really? Okay, I didn't know that. So I'm in the chat rooms for a lot of broadcasts, right? But I will admit, during the Pro Series, I did watch the Kutu. I don't even know how you say it. How do you say it, Jake? What? Kutu, right. So I did watch the Kutu streams because he was focusing on more of the guys that were mid-pack, and that's the story I wanted to know. I wanted to know, like, who was around the 20th spot bubble, or was it 10, Jake? 10, right. So I wanted to know who was around the 10 spot bubble and who was close to dropping out as opposed to who was winning. And RaceSpot was more focusing on who was winning, which is fine because that's what a race should do, right? And I liked how Kutu had the overlay that showed you the gaps so you could see when somebody was closing in sort of real time. Now, RaceSpot has the overlay, but it kind of scrolls and it's not really in real time. It's at the end of the lap. So, you know, different strokes for different folks, I said, and I didn't really think anything of it. So we had some drama. It was March 31st at around 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Right, yes. Jake? Okay, so 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Now, Kutu, I can't say it. Kutu is in Europe somewhere, and I would assume he's in Eastern Europe.
I believe it's Russia.
Right. That's right. So it would be after midnight for Russia.
I believe so.
Yeah.
It would either be after it or very close to it.
Okay, so there was a tweet that came out on March 31st, 5:30 in the afternoon, Eastern time, that said, Jake wrote to, I can never say his name.
Michal Latashov.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that'll be better. Jake wrote to K. I'm so embarrassed. Jay wrote to K and said that basically, you know, I'm paraphrasing, but basically, the guys at RaceSpot put in a lot of effort, even before they even got the official rights to broadcast the World Championship Series, and because of all that work that they put in behind the scenes, iRacing put trust in them, become the official broadcasters of the World Championship Series, and for having a streamer basically on Twitch stream the races and do a little bit of commentary here and there, it undermines the work that RaceSpot does. Am I paraphrasing that accurately?
Yeah, you are. You are. I definitely say that.
Right, and it's something that you can't. It's so this is a tweet, and it's not something you can really explain in 240 characters. That's why I paraphrased and kind of added a little bit more words there. Okay. So Kutu, sorry, when anybody listens to this, they are just gonna laugh at me. So he responds with a meme. You know, it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
So then Jake says, I'm serious. Well, I'm not sure if he says I'm serious, but he basically says, I appreciate the work that you do and all the things that you do. Oh, if you don't know, he makes apps for sim racing, including the overlay that I use.
Yeah.
The overlay that I use is made by him. So he's done a lot for sim racing. So Jake says all your apps are great and everything you do for iRacing is great, but the original point I made still stands.
Yeah.
And he responded basically to get over it. What's the hashtag?
Yeah.
Okay, so Jake, what were your thoughts? What were you thinking when you sent the tweet? What were your feelings when you got the responses back?
Well, I think I should preface this first and foremost is that I use this as an April Fool's joke, and that's where the issue comes in. And going back to the wrestling point we did about Paul Heyman earlier, the best promos that you ever get to see are those which you think you know what's going on, but you don't quite know what's going on. So it's a work shoot promo. The ideas that I introduce are very real and are very legitimate and are legitimate concerns that I have. But what makes this a joke is the fact that I wasn't actually going after Kutu per se, but more rather I was going after his fan base and going, if I really wanted to, we've got this issue that goes up. I feel like I have an ability to say what's right and what's wrong, and I could take Kutu away from you from doing all of this sort of stuff. The joke is I'm not going to do anything of that, and I made however many people believe that I had that potential and that ability to go out there and do that. When I sent those opening tweets, that's sort of me constructing my story, Kev. That's me sort of saying, okay, let's make this believable, because I am probably to most people one of the most serious people when it comes to sim racing. I wanted to make that look as believable as possible, so I phrased it in such a way that I was being polite, I was being nice to Kutu because I was using him as a vehicle to get to my destination, but by the same point, I still needed to legitimize my argument instead of making it look like kids play.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think that's what people understand, is that, one, you're playing a character, and two, I don't really think we established in the opening that you're an announcer for RaceSpot.
I am. I'm an announcer for 3 companies, RaceSpot TV, the Global Sim Racing Channel, and V8 Online. And the work that I do with RaceSpot, I have worked to become one of the announcers for the World Championship, which is why there is so much outrage, because I'm not just some person. I did the final 3 rounds of the Road to Pro, and I sort of hold a responsibility for sim racing, that I am one of the people who, to the mass audience, the way that they're going to understand sim racing is through my eyes and what I speak and what I say. So in that sort of sense, I do become that sort of small pillar in terms of where I stand and how much weight I hold.
And you also run the Sim Racing Observer. We talked about that briefly at the start, but people who don't know, so the Sim Racing Observer is what I would call a news site that basically it chronicles what's going on. You only focus on iRacing, Jake, or you do all the sims?
I focus predominantly on iRacing.
Right. Okay. So it tracks what's going on in iRacing. I mean, and it finds news that I would have no idea. We talked about last episode, the drama at Core. I would have no idea that any of that was going on if not for Jake's website. Okay. And then what I think is the most coolest thing, it actually has a ranking system of all the drivers. And what it does is the amount of work here is it blows my mind. Okay. So what he does is he actually awards points to drivers based on where they finish, but not just like in the official series. He takes like leagues, he takes the NEO. I mean, I'm on there. I'm really low because I race in the Autobahn and the major series, which are broadcast on the Global Sim Racing Network. So he actually takes the results and plugs them in there, and there's a point system and there's a ranking. So when Jake says that he's a serious voice of sim racing, he's not kidding. His website takes sim racing very seriously. So when he comes out and makes a joke, it kind of you could see how there would be a misinterpretation.
Yeah, I certainly do see that misinterpretation, and part of that is down to the fact that I am this very super serious person when it comes to sim racing and what I do around it. It's not often that I get the chance to joke or I have that ability to make a joke because of the fact that I am serious. I want to develop sim racing as this esport, and I do believe it has that potential to go out there and be almost on the same level as a Dota or a League of Legends in terms of popularity, because sim racing is the only esport in the world right now which has the most realistic transferable skills between the real thing and the fake thing. So I think that when it comes to what I do, and if I make a joke, and I knew full well going into this that I am this super serious person, I knew I was going to get a reaction with whatever it is that I was going to say, whether I phrase it real or whether I phrase it not. And I phrased whatever this was as real, and naturally I got the responses off of the people I wanted to get responses off of.
Right, and that's why we were talking, because of time zone differences. It was going to be hard to have you on the podcast this week, and you might have recorded something. But so Matt Malone Showdown, the number one streamer on Twitch, has 500 viewers last night, and it's an important stream for him because he has to rearrange his schedule because he returned to work. A lot of people were tuning in to find out what was going on, and he was steamed over this whole thing. Now, for a little background, he's friends with Kay.
Yeah.
And Kay has helped him a lot with his stream when he first started. And I mean, I think a lot of the popularity of Match Stream revolves around the betting, and the betting app was developed by Kay. So, he owes a lot of his success to Kay. So, you could see why he would be defensive about this whole thing, especially if, so like you said, Eddie, a work shoot, a pipe bomb, as you will, is the best type of promo in wrestling. Okay, but there's so in order to be a work shoot, there must be some hinge of truth to it, and there can be a hinge of truth. So, Jake, be honest with me. How do you, do you feel like if somebody was streaming the World Championship Series that it's actually taking away from RaceSpot, or is it helping the overall sim racing because more eyes are seeing it?
Yes and no, Kevin. I'll be completely honest with you. And I first want to preface that what I did with that joke was not to be aimed at Kutu. But more rather it used Kutu as the vehicle to get to where I wanted to. And in terms of that, it's not personal. Maybe I should have clued Kutu in before I did something like this, and for that I do apologize for that. But with any sort of workshoot promo, there is an element of realism to it. Part of that comes down to the fact that I very explicitly make it clear RaceSpot TV and iRacing have a contract that states that RaceSpot TV has the exclusive rights to broadcast the World Championship. And if there wasn't that, which some people were trying to argue, if there was no contract in place, what's stopping Apex Racing TV from doing that broadcast? What's stopping the Global Sim Racing channel from covering it? What's stopping V8's Online from covering it? Sim Racing Deutschland, Mundo, any sim racing company that exists. What then stops them from covering it? And the simple fact of the matter is, I know fully well that all those companies want that shot of covering that World Championship. It's something that I've worked 3.5 years in sim racing to be able to even have that opportunity to cover sim racing. Will Vincent a lot longer than me as someone who owns RaceSpot. But crucially, when it comes down to the way that I phrase it, there are issues with what Kutu does. There are ways that he could do that without causing any issues on legality or anything like that. But that would take away from Kutu's product, which I have watched from time to time. And I do agree that he has a very good broadcast package. And I think that he does appeal to a certain style of fan because he, as you said, Kevin, he covers different areas and he is more relaxed and more chilled and he suits a different style of broadcasting than the smash mouth in your face style that RaceSpot does have a tendency to bring with British broadcasters. But when you get down to the bread and butter, and there's no ifs about this, iRacing have a deal with RaceSpot. It is up to RaceSpot TV, not myself, because I'm an independent contractor to all these companies. It is up to RaceSpot or iRacing to make a decision on that. And if not, Kutu can continue. It's not in my hands. It's not my fight to fight. I simply just use this as a way to bring up debate and also to have a bit of fun with a few people.
So what Matt was saying was that, you know, if iRacing puts their boot down, like 10 more ants will pop up. You know, that's a metaphor, right? So he's basically saying, okay, you stop him from streaming. What's this? Why don't we all get together? 200 streams at once. Let's all go in and spectate, and we'll all run whatever, some sort of timing app, right? So that's what he was mad at. And again, Jake's. There was never a threat in Jake's tweet. There was never like shut it down or we will shut it down, right? So I think people are kind of overblowing this a little, but we as the community also need to be careful. You know, don't get into specifics, Jake. But my understanding is that iRacing pays RaceSpot, right?
You are wrong. We get nothing for doing this.
Oh, okay.
And that's what will surprise a lot of people, is the fact that for every World Championship event that we do and every World Tour event that we do, we don't get a single penny from iRacing to do that. We do that purely for the exposure. That is our deal, because iRacing could very easily turn around, knowing that it's a developing industry, knowing that it is going to be big, and it could go exactly the same way as most major sports do, and ask for the broadcasters to pay money to stream this event and go, highest bidder takes it. They don't. They trust RaceSpot TV. They have a working relationship to the point that with any road event, if any sponsor comes in and looks to try and cover that event, they will go to RaceSpot TV first, because they are the most tried and tested and trusted company when it comes to the roadside. On Oval, they will share that and split that between RaceSpot TV and LSR TV. I think that Matt Malone does raise some good points. If you stop one person, 10 more could very easily crop up. And you are absolutely right. That could be a way that goes forward. But iRacing can very easily look to rectify that. They could easily put in a policy that says the only people who are allowed to spectate the World Championship races are those who are spotting, and they are legitimately spotting, and they can record what the spotter is saying over towards what's going on. And then what they could then do is say limit their spectator roles so that you could get only broadcast accounts available to get into those sessions. That would solve all of the issues that would have right now. It would not leave any opportunity to go up. the nice way of dealing with this issue.
I mean, they just to before you get into that,
Yeah.
they clearly have test servers because they have
Yeah.
beta testers. They could just put the World Championship on a beta test server with only certain people that have invite powers. Like the drivers put a list of who the spectators are, right? And the broadcasters are one of them. And now it's on a private server that nobody could spectate. I mean, iRacing definitely has the power here. iRacing could put in their terms of service that nobody can stream iRacing.
They already do.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started, I was one of the original people who started streaming. I wasn't not the first person who started streaming. That would be crazy. But I'm one of the first people that got popular, per se, streaming. So I actually went to iRacing and I got a license from them. I said, because I'm a attorney, I drew up a licensing agreement. I sent it off to iRacing. And so I got a license to monetize their content.
Yeah.
Okay. So iRacing could very easily shut everything down if they wanted to, and they wouldn't because that would be a really bad business decision. But they're the ones that have the power here. So let's not poke the bear. Is what I'm saying. All right. So what's the nice thing that iRacing could do, or what's the nice thing that could be done to fix this that you think is broken?
Well, the easiest way to fix this is that Kutu decides to stop running an overlay and he decides to focus on using only the basic cameras instead of using a specific camera pack. That in itself, and not commentating on that race, making it a broadcast, which is what the issue is in this situation, that would just solve the issues, because then he would be just like everybody else, a spectator. He'll be spectating. Yes, he can talk over it. Yes, he can talk about different things whilst it goes on in the background. The issue becomes that he makes this a legitimate broadcast, and it's almost exactly the same thing as, someone turning up to Melbourne, for example, in the Formula One, putting his own cameras around the track, covering the race, bootlegging it off to certain people, and people may like it, people may think it's better, but ultimately that's still taking away from those who already have the contract and the right. It does say in the competitor releases in the iRacing First Sporting Code around areas 5.2.11 and 5.2.21 that basically you have to be an iRacing authorized agent to get exclusive licenses and names and things like that. And on top of that, you look at it, and those who own the rights, which includes the agents, iRacing owns the rights to any broadcast that happens. So ultimately, if it really wanted to be pushed that way, Kutu could be in a bit of trouble.
And we're not saying him personally. We're saying, well, maybe you are, but I'm saying that everybody could be in trouble.
Yeah. Right?
I mean, if this got to a point where people, that's what I say, let's not poke the bear.
Yeah.
Because, your example about the Melbourne, no one could set up cameras around the track because Melbourne owns the track and they have security, and they would stop people from doing it because they want to protect their broadcast partners. Yeah. Right. So iRacing owns the track. I know it's a virtual thing, but iRacing owns the track, and iRacing could do whatever they want with it. And we are peons here, right? So if we go down this road, we're playing with fire here, especially as this gets bigger and bigger. Jake sees the future of this the way I see the future of this. I mean, in 20 years, I think this will be exponentially bigger than what it is now. Especially when we get rid of gas motors. It's coming. I mean, it's coming. It may not come in like our lifetime, but it's coming, right? So, and you see all this stuff about safety and the NFL and about the head injuries and how dangerous sports are, blah, 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 blah. I mean, nothing's more dangerous than motorsports. I mean, you talk, so I just think it's going to be this way, where it's going to be, well, if we race sim way, no one gets hurt and it's fine for the environment and blah, 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 blah. I just see that's the way the world's going. That's my interpretation of it. And what Jake said about the skills transferring 1-to-1, we talked about prior episodes of the podcast. I completely agree with that. If you're the Madden champion, you couldn't play quarterback for the Colts. But if you're the best sim racer in the world with a little bit of practice, maybe you could be a competitive real life driver. I wouldn't say you would hop in an F1 car and immediately, score points or even be anywhere close to the pace, like cold, right? But these skills definitely transfer over. As Jake and I don't need to debate that. That's clear. So the future of this is bright. So let's not do anything rash here, is what I'm saying, right? So, but I'm actually on the side of the streamers here.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not on the side of anybody. I'm kind of a neutral party, right? But I could see where he's coming from too. It's like, look, I'm spectating the race, and I can spectate any race I want and put any overlay I want. What's so special about this race? And the answer is because it's the World Championship Series and because RaceSpot has an agreement, blah, 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 right? But he's not a party to that agreement. That agreement's between iRacing and RaceSpot, right? So, he does. So anyway, I'm just repeating myself now, but we don't want the fist of iRacing to come down on Twitch streamers. As a Twitch streamer, that's not what I want, right?
And don't get me wrong, Kevin. I'm not anti-Twitch streamers. I love the work that Matt Malone, Matt O'Donnell, Matt Orr, what Michal Atashov's doing, Jimmy Broadbent, Jake Hewlett, Emily Jones. You keep on naming them, even you.
Oh, thanks.
I love what they do, and they serve a purpose as some of the most influential people in sim racing, because they are the first people you can put a face to a name with when it comes to what they do. They are engaging, they are profiles, and they hold a lot of sway in terms of what they say. But the argument that comes down to is who has the rights, and there is a right way to do things, and there is a wrong way to do things. It doesn't matter if Kutu doesn't take any money from what he does. It doesn't matter if he's been doing it for a long time. I could be caught with heroin at any given day of the week, for example. And I may be the best heroin inserter in the world, but it doesn't matter if I've been doing it for 10 years or if I've been doing it for 2 days. If I get caught with it by the police, I get caught with a Class A drug, I end up going to court and, all the rest of it. It is difficult in terms of how you police it. And I think there is a debate in terms of what the role of a streamer is. A streamer has to be incredibly careful about if it strays into the realm of broadcast. And that's where I think Kutu runs into troubles. I'm not saying that he's right or wrong for what he's doing. But what I do think is that if iRacing has a look at that, then iRacing does have a responsibility to address this issue, because it becomes a point of concern for RaceSpot as well if they are promised exclusivity and they don't get it.
Right, especially since what you're saying is you guys do it for free. Right. I mean, it's one of those, well, is it worth it? Right? And if it's not, I mean, let's be clear here. There's a lot of broadcasters out there, and a lot of them aren't of the same quality.
Yeah.
Right? So there's this, if RaceSpot pulls out and another broadcaster pulls up, and now the broadcast is a lot worse, or the people are normally oval drivers, have no idea what's going on, right? It would totally change the overall appeal of the broadcast. Okay. Well, thanks, Jake. I'm going to end it here because, I do want to talk about another part of that's another part of the drama that I mentioned earlier, but I do want you to get in all your plugs and talk more about the Sim Racing Observer.
Yes. I do want to preface one point, though, before I finish. I don't like the fact that we have a double standard in sim racing, that people like me who sacrifice or have sacrificed pretty much every weekend for the last year and a half, 2 years, to make sure that I am covering the content that everyone wants to see. I don't like the fact that I am told that I need to work better than, say, David Croft does, or Alan Beswick does, or whoever else it is does. I have to work at a level better than that, and I have to work at a level which is incredibly cheap for that. And the same people that are basically saying, why isn't sim racing big? We want sim racing to be big, are not actively helping by turning around to someone like me and the companies I work for going, yeah, we don't want to pay that much for that because, you know, you may be doing a great job, but we don't want to pay for anything of that. We don't want to help you get over to that level. I hate this fact that people don't see the sort of size and the sort of effort that broadcasters actually have to go to in order to make events like this happen. And with all of this, I'm not here saying that I'm the best in the world. I'm not here saying that a certain company is the best in the world. I'm here representing the broadcasting community, and that the work that they put in, the tireless hours that they put in, whether you don't like someone's voice because of what nationality they come from. For example, Alvin Nieves is a prime example of what of getting targeted all the time. Be it that you don't like the style of a broadcast, aka GSRC, aka RaceSpot TV, you name it. We're all trying to put content out to help us get over, and as much as the streamers get people over, it is us that gets over as well in terms of the broadcasts, and it's those broadcasts that need to be at the front of the World Championship, not just a streamer, because we have to coexist and work hand in hand in order to make up to that top level. That's what I like to see. I don't like the divisive, oh, it's us versus them and we can't do this because of this, this, and this. It's not about that. It's about doing what's right. It's about how we progress forward together, and it's how that we help support each other so that we can make this an industry we can profit on. The moment we start fighting, no sponsor's going to want to come in and deal with us. I'd like to plug the Sim Racing Observer. It's my website. I do mostly opinion pieces in terms of articles and news and whatever happens. I've done pieces on commentary and how I feel commentary works. I've done pieces on where sim racing is and how it can go forward. I also have the home of the iRankings, not just for the drivers, but for the teams as well. And I have an announcement for that, which will be coming out June, July-ish, which I think a lot of people will be very interested to hear about. I'm also doing my first Sim Racing Hall of Fame, and that's going to be coming out in August. And we'll be announcing the inductees in August who make it into the first level of the Hall of Fame. I'd like to thank Connery Maddock, who helps me in the editing job. I'd like to thank Jay Kennedy, who does so much behind the scenes with the iRankings that you wouldn't believe. I'd like to thank everyone at RaceSpot, everyone at the Global Sim Racing Channel, and everyone at V8s Online who gives me the opportunity to go out there and broadcast and do the thing that I love doing. And although it's a hobby, I'd love this to be my job. And I think a lot of people would like this to be their job. We're only going to get there together, though, Kevin, is if we work together. Whilst we have disagreements, we can respectfully disagree a level here, a level there, and work together, not just with each other, but with iRacing as well, to make iRacing the sim racing platform that everybody wants it to be.
All right, thanks for being on the show, Jake.
No worries at all. Thank you so much for the pleasure of having this space for me to talk about this, because I could have done this on my own podcast, but I really did want to get a neutral opinion on exactly this issue and what's going on, because I don't want to be accused of being biased. I like to think I'm a nice guy. I don't like fighting with people, and just having this ability to talk my side of things. And I've been called all sorts in terms of the media. I've been called unworthy to be a broadcaster over this joke. I've been told that, you know, I've been thrown expletives at for doing it. I've also had people who get it and are, you know, are happy that I've done it, and sort of those sorts of things. So, you know, I just want this opportunity to say I'm as human as everyone else is. And ultimately, my goal is to help sim racing get to a certain level. And once in a while, I am allowed to be a little bit lighthearted and have a little bit of a joke here and there. So,
all right, that's my interview with Jake. Tough one, man. You know, here's my thoughts on it. Well, first off, let me say this. I gave Kutu the opportunity to respond. I thought it was only fair to do so. He declined, and I respect that. Okay, so let me give my thoughts on the matter. It's tough, man. Tough situation. There's kind of an unwritten rule that you don't step on anybody else's toes, right? There's nothing stopping me from making a Watch Matt Malone Twitch channel where I only spectate Matt Malone racing. And I say, hey, if you want to watch Showdown 1983, but you don't want to hear his voice, come to my channel, right? And I would be perfectly within my rights to do that, but I would also be kind of a dick if I did that, right? So I can kind of see where Jake's coming from. It's kind of like, hey, you know, we're doing something here. We're the quote-unquote official people. You're kind of being a dick by stepping on our toes. At the same time, there's nothing that he could do about it. He's just a broadcaster. He doesn't own RaceSpot. He has no control over RaceSpot. He's not an employee of Iracing. And honestly, he probably shouldn't have brought this up in a public manner. He should have approached him privately. I also don't believe it was an April Fool's joke. I do believe it was a work shoot, though. I do believe he made it public purposely to generate controversy. And I always say controversy creates cash. That's why we do World Championship Hot Takes, right? The more controversial things we can talk about, the more clicks that we get, et cetera, et cetera. Now, he's also playing the heel here, and I'm not sure that's the best thing to do when you're trying to present yourself as the quote-unquote serious face of sim racing. The serious face or voice of sim racing should not be a heel. And anybody associated with RaceSpot shouldn't be a heel, because RaceSpots set themselves up to be number one in the market if this happens to grow. So he made a mistake there. You know, but like I said, it's tough. It's tough. It reminds me of the Spec Faker controversy. So I may even be saying this wrong, but there was a time in League of Legends where this guy Faker was the best League of Legends player, and a company that was a rival to Twitch or YouTube, or one of them, basically got a contract with Faker that he would only stream to their platform. Okay? So the only place to watch Faker was on platform X, let's call it, okay? So somebody on Twitch came up with a bright idea, Spec Faker. And all he did was he went to the spectate mode of League of Legends, and he only loaded up Faker's matches. And he just spectated Faker. I mean, all you're doing is loading up League of Legends, and you're spectating Faker. So the people who wanted to watch Faker, the number one player in the world, play, went to his channel. And his channel got an insanely number of popular views for what year it was. Maybe 2012, something like that. You have to Google it. So the company that purchased the rights to Faker complained to Twitch and said, hey, look, you know, we have an agreement with Faker. What are you doing? And it created a whole controversy, and decisions had to be made in terms of what can we do in terms of the community and our guidelines and everything like that. And it basically turned out, you know, the outcome was, hey, don't be a dick, right? And, you know, but at the same time, as I said to Jake, I was a fan of Kutu's stream. I think he does a good job of focusing on certain battles in the mid-pack and the rear of the field that the RaceSpot broadcast doesn't focus on. So I do think there's a market there. I do think more eyes on the World Tour, not the World Tour, the World Championship events is a good thing for iRacing. Another argument for why this wasn't a big deal until recently was that RaceSpot didn't stream to Twitch. So there's a lot of nations in the world that can't watch YouTube for whatever reason, but they can watch Twitch. So they watched Kutu stream to be able to watch the World Championship Series because they couldn't watch it otherwise. Now RaceSpot is using multi-stream, and they're streaming to Facebook Live and Twitch and other platforms all at once. So that argument's kind of out the book. So now you have a RaceSpot channel that's been established for many years. That's established as, hey, we're the broadcasters of the World Championship on Twitch, and you have Kutu also streaming on Twitch. right there, right? And they're side by side, and one has more viewers than the other. You know, it's kind. You know, I can understand where Jake's coming from. It would kind of peeve me if I was a broadcaster. I mean, heck, if somebody made Spectate Rutgers Kev, I'd be really mad. You know, I'd be like, hey, what are you doing? You know, but because they'd be like, hey, Rutgers Kev is pretty good at this oval stuff. Let's watch him drive. But man, his nasally voice pisses me off. Let's not do that. Right? So let's commentate on Rutgers Kev. That would piss me off, I tell you. But again, there's nothing stopping him from doing that. So what Matt said, I'm talking now Showdown 1983. Showdown 1983 said, hey, let's all go on iRacing and just all spectate the World Championship and stream it. You know, so now there's 100 streams of the World Championship Series, and they can't shut us all down. Well, he's right, but, it's kind of like, don't be a dick, right? But at the same time, who is Kutu really being a dick to? He's showing battles of cars that aren't normally featured on the broadcast. So if you're the guy who runs 16th every week and you're never shown on Race Spot, you are in full favor of Kutu showing your battle. And you would, of course, stand up for anybody who tries to shut down Kutu. So this isn't an open shut case, right? But the overall theme of everything I've been trying to say is let's be careful of what we do. Because while loading up a broadcast, loading up as a spectator and spectating something that's broadcasted by another channel, and I guess pawning it off as your own, it's kind of a dick move, right? I don't know any other way to say it, but if you're also doing a service for the community as a whole, it's also hard to say, well, you know, you're doing wrong. You need to shut that down. So I know I'm playing, you know, middle of the road here, Rutgers Kev, and I'm not really taking a stand in either direction. I think obviously Jake was wrong for making this public. I should have approached him on a private basis and then, you know, brought it up internally, the Race Spot, and let either Will or Hugo take the lead on this, or brought it up to iRacing. He shouldn't have just sent out a random tweet. I don't believe this was an April Fool's joke. I believe he covered his butt on that. And I believe Kutu, for reasons unknown, being kind of a dick. You know, he's a fan of the World Tour. He's a fan of these guys. The World Tour, I keep saying that. World Championship event. He's a fan of these guys that are mid-packers. They're not showing the Race Spot broadcast. He wants to show their skill off to the world. So So he had good intentions for doing what he did. Just like somebody might have good intentions for spectating Rutgers Kev and having a channel that says, hey, you know, Rutgers Kev only streams from his cockpit view. I was going to show you his chase view because I like watching races from the chase view, right? He would be perfectly able to do that under the iRacing rules, but would that be a dick thing to do? Or would that be a thing that's for a service for the other people out there? I guess it all depends on your point of view. Right? Now, there's some other controversy in the world that I want to discuss. Let me layer some video first. Warning, this part of the podcast contains language not safe for families or work. Not safe for work warning ahead. Wee-oo, warning, warning, not safe for work. All right, this was sent to me, and this was a replay file of a race that occurred at Rockingham in the Truck Series. And you're going to hear the audio that occurred around lap 35 of a 50-lap race. Apparently, the drivers in this race had trouble staying under green, and one driver took offense to it. For those of you listening on the audio thing, you're not missing anything in terms of the video. It's pretty much them driving around under caution, and I'm not showing names specifically because of policies regarding iRacing. Okay? So sit back, relax, and enjoy what happens on the Oval Series.
This is the worst. I've been doing this a year, and every one of you ain't worth the Sherman you wipe your butts on. Any one of you. Number 1 through 20, you all are pathetic.
You're an idiot, dude. You're like cast like a net like that. Shame on you.
Hey, thank you, buddy. You are the best racer we've ever seen. Thank you for putting us in our place.
Yo, what happened?
You again?
Skip, you should be ashamed of yourself for trying iRacing. That's how bad you are. You are pathetic. You're the last truck in the lowest room in the truck series tonight. The very last truck. Congratulations. You are trash.
What the hell happened?
That is just hilarious, dude.
Daddy issues right there.
I honestly didn't even do anything. I just saw a big wreck in 3. I'm like, what the hell happened there?
I just want to make sure this guy knows that number 2 is included in 1 through 20.
Talmadge, you suck too, buddy. Everybody in this room but me sucks. You ain't worth a Charmin. You wipe your butts on any of you. The only reason I'm in this room because of morons that can't drive.
You suck, you asshole. You're an asshole.
This part muted because another driver used a slur.
Skip, I'd rather be an a-hole than drive like you, buddy. Good God, you're pathetic. Like I said, you ain't worth a Charmin you wipe your butt on, son.
Yeah, because this really determines my life. I really could give two shits about this, you asshole.
Kurt, hey, what if I don't use Charmin? Yeah, for real, I use Con now.
Guys, what happened to cause a big wreck in 3? Did like a lot truck come out of the fence and just completely take you out or something?
I watched the replay.
I mean, I've only got a half a lap lead on the rest of you jokers, and these two morons come out of the pit catfighting with each other, and they wreck each other down there in the big smoke pile. And of course, if I slow down, pull right out in front of everybody and hit everybody. Ridiculous. Unbelievable. Look, people, just go. Do yourself a favor. You're going to embarrass yourselves. Every one of you. Just going to embarrass yourselves. Just quit now, please.
Well, what in the hell did you hit him for if you can fucking drive?
Especially you, Skip. You just need to go ahead and retire, buddy. You are.
Making yourself look terrible. You're already terrible, but whatever.
Hey, number 2, are you streaming this one with the Flying Aces or no?
No, thank God we're not screaming this trash. I would hate to embarrass everybody in this room. My God, it's pathetic. You guys are terrible.
I feel sorry for your life, bro. This is like what's so important. Very sad. Sad. And number 3, we gotta pass the pace car here, buddy. Come on.
Kurt, we cannot hear you, by the way. It's fine.
Skip, I feel sorry for your driving skills, buddy. My God. If you're that bad, you just need to go ahead and quit, okay? I mean, this is terrible. I've never seen anything like this, guys. I've been doing this a year. This is the worst room I've ever been in my life. You guys are terrible. Congratulations, every one of you.
The race is about to go green and engine noise is going to pick up. You might need to lower
Pathetic.
the volume of your radio.
Awful. I don't even know what's going on.
I'll take your buddy, everybody in this section, but the drivers who were involved, we're still blaming. So, yeah. Like, you can't blame the drivers on getting their lanes wrong.
Yeah, you have, Joseph. You haven't shut up the whole race. Nobody wants to hear play-by-play from your vantage point, okay? You're terrible, awful. Please quit. God bless everybody in this room. Please do me a favor and quit this. This is terrible. I've never seen anything this bad. Charmin drivers is what you are, every one of you. A bunch of Charmin drivers.
Not now.
And now you can see why I no longer race oval. The voice chat under caution is funny, but man, is it toxic. And if you ever get in the crosshairs of anybody, oh boy, You know, all my experience on the road, nothing ever like that. You know, maybe you get called an idiot, but within a minute, everything's gone and over with. So obviously, anybody who uses any kind of language like that should automatically be protested. They should have their voice chat removed. Okay. So I'm not going to say his name. So a driver who was in that race sent me this clip. And his question for the show was basically, if you're a streamer, shouldn't you be held to a higher standard because you're a streamer? You're technically representing iRacing. If you're popular, then you're the face of iRacing. Is this really the example you want to be setting for the rest of the community and people who watch you? Well, good question. When I was the #1 streamer, that's how I felt. I felt like I had to go out there and put iRacing in a positive light. And if I did anything personally, it would be amplified because I'm streaming. That's true with anybody. If this was a random no-name person who made this rant about everybody can't drive and Charmin and stuff like that, this wouldn't be on the show. But because he's a streamer, now it's on the show because now it's public. You've put yourself out there, now you're public. So should you be held to a higher standard? No, but everything you do is going to be magnified. And this is the risk you take when you become a streamer. Now, when I was talking earlier, I was talking about characters and how when I'm a lawyer, I don't go out there and say, why me? Okay? This person, when he's racing, plays a character. Okay? He goes by his nickname. Okay? In iRacing, we use our real names. He goes by his nickname. Okay? I think I won't even say his nickname. Okay? You heard what channel he's from. Okay? So when he's going by that nickname, maybe he's in that persona, right? Okay? Let's say somebody creates a channel called Driver X, right? And when he drives, he acts like Driver X, right? Oh, I'm Driver X, I'm so cool, right? And when he's like, oh, I'm cool and all you guys suck and I'm the best, right? Sort of like a Dr. Disrespect kind of way, right? Well, when Dr. X turns off iRacing, turns off his stream, maybe he's just a normal guy. Maybe he's a accountant, right? He's playing a character. And in some ways, that character can be entertaining, okay? And if this guy was streaming and he was making his stream laugh and all that, saying the Charmin stuff, then I could buy it. But he wasn't streaming this, according to what he said. He was just being out there. And obviously, he should get his voice chat removed. I'm not going to protest him because I'm not a member. I wasn't in the race. So I'm not going to protest him. But this is a warning to anybody out there who's either on the low end of the totem pole of streaming or is thinking about getting into streaming. You need to be careful, okay? If you're a low end streamer, no, you're not the face of iRacing. You don't owe iRacing anything, okay? But what you do is going to be magnified, okay? So when you play a character, make sure you keep it in the sporting code, right? I could be RutgersKev and I could say, why me? And I could say, oh, why does everybody crash, right? Don't say it over comms where everybody can hear you because it's going to get clipped. It's going to get recorded. It's going to be saved. It's going to be sent to gossip person RutgersKev who's going to talk about it, right? And if you're not willing to accept the consequences for your actions when you put yourself out there as a streamer, you shouldn't be a streamer. It's kind of how it goes with the territory. Now, I'm not saying you have to be a choir boy, not saying you can't be entertaining, not saying you can't play a character. But you've got to keep it within the sporting code or you're going to get your chat removed, you might get banned for a week, etc., right? iRacing is not a game for trolls. And that's my show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and more importantly, share. Let's grow.
That's the end of my show. Donk.